So here we are on Eastbourne Pier. We're getting a nice little bite on that rod there. I've said it before, it's always one of the best bits of fishing, isn't it? That anticipation when you come up to a venue, particularly one I haven't fished for a while here. But here we are, Eastbourne Pier, full of optimism. I'm imagining hundreds of pace, but the conditions are pretty good today. Water's clearing up a bit, especially on this ebbing tide. So the fishing's right at the end of the pier, like most piers really, but there is a little platform here. I'm just hoping it's not too crowded when we get there. It's always a worry, isn't it? You can't get a spot. But it is a Monday morning, so we're just about to see as we come round this corner. I'm going to put this down here because I've got so many little small bits in the bag. You can drop them down there. Cascade rig here with a few beads. Size 4 hooks. So make sure that line's not all tangled up. So we've got some lug here, good lugworm, and in here we've got some salted lugworm. Not in... Oh yeah, I saw pictures, yeah. And some ragworm there as well. So we've got ragworm, lugworm, and I'm going to tip it a little bit of frozen razors. Frozen on one. And then just going to tip those with some razor. Well, as we focus in on Eastbourne, you can see where it sits on the south coast. This is in East Sussex, between Pevensey Bay, another mark, and Seaford. We've fished before. The pier itself is in relatively shallow water, deeper water further round from the beach at Langley Point. Relatively easy walk from the train station. I would travel light though. Seafront parking, bearing in mind it's going to be busier in the summer. I'm finding this quite interesting actually. You can see how the water changes its clarity depending how fast it pushes through those stanchions there. You may even be aiming your bait onto clearer water for sight feeders like plaice. It just shows how a pier does affect the flow of water throughout the tide. Is that someone catching a fish at the end? Watch out for that big mussel bed. I think you can just see cloudier water over the end of it there. If you are coming from places like South London, you're about an hour and a half away from Eastbourne. Lots of other options nearby, like Brighton as well. No, nothing. No.
Another YouTuber.
I'll tell you what, I'm trying to get about a bit more, yeah, because just fishing the same places all the time, you know.
A bit like me.
Yeah. Just hanging that over the side there because I don't want those clips to come off. Oh, just had a cup of coffee and looks like we're getting little taps here. I'm going to have to put my coffee down. What I'm really looking for is a good rattle or a good knock. It's a little bit of swell in the tide there with that rod on the right. Can you see that? And I think that's just the tide taking up the line rather than a fish. I can have a feel of that rod on the left. Yeah, I'm just having a look here. They've got all you really need for fishing off the pier here actually with the beads. There's those green and black ones. They're the only ones the place go for, we know that. Hooks, links, ready-made rigs, the leads here. And when it comes to summer, maybe some lure fishing and the mackerel.
Mackerels, blueies, squid,
fishing gear here.
herring, razors, got everything in there.
Yeah, pretty set here for those thornback that turn up.
This channel.
Another option, of course, you can always fish under the pier, risk the snag. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a little walk underneath the pier because it's places like this, particularly when you get into June and July, that the bass, oh, you'd love me to fall over, the bass will start to show from June. You can see here really interesting little spots. And you can see why something like a bass would be hiding under these stanchions, waiting for that tide to pick up, waiting for the bait fish to be disorientated. So there is another section here, it's not open at the moment. You could get 30 or so, I think, here. The bites are quite timid today. Feel in a minute. I don't want to be in a big rush to bring it in. Got two hooks on there, size 4. Because I've got the braid on here, you've got a direct line right to whatever that fish is doing, so I can actually feel it. And it feels like the braid is also snagged on something. There's a gentleman here fishing as well, said there's a mussel bed out there. I've got a feeling we're on the mussel bed. So we have got the bites on there, but they're very timid. A lot of the time with the place, it goes for that lugworm, comes out of nowhere. These aren't definite bites, unfortunately. But we're getting little taps. Keep your eyes peeled. So we're fishing right at the end of Eastbourne Pier. There's a lower platform. You can fish from the top, but I think, as you can see, it's a very spring-like day. Could almost be in shorts and t-shirt today. And yet we're still not even halfway through February. Glorious blue skies, quite quiet as well. It's a Monday morning. Unfortunately, the fishing is also a little bit quiet. Getting small little taps. One of those days where the fish just aren't showing. So as I say, it is quite slow. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to try, this hasn't got the grips on it, and I'm going to push it out in that tide. The tide started to push up after high tide. Tide starts to push about an hour after high tide, so I want to put this lead bow in that mono line just to see if that'll give us any advantage, because at the moment, as I say, it is quite quiet. So we'll try this old lead, see if we can get out in the current a bit. It was all right on the way through. There's a fish on as well. Just dragged it into it. Another little Anyway, there we go. A nice little dab. Oh. A start, yeah, start indeed. Very, very small flatfish, but they are beautiful and nice to eat. So we'll just measure this one. Let's have a little look. Yeah, so dabs are meant to be 20. And it's really, let's be honest, that's under, isn't it?
19,
19, but it does show that they're quite a... different then. I'm just going to go with a swim feeder with that old lug on there. I'm going to drop that short with a 3-hook flapper, rag and lug. Another little dab. Get it out. So we've ID'd these dab before. You've got this mark in here, which is like a half circle. Eyes to the fish's right. A little dab. But again, this is a little bit small really. I've seen some bigger ones come out. It's the same one I caught earlier, isn't it? That is right on the limit. I mean, if you're being fussy, that's exactly 19 there. But I think we'll put this one back. You can lower the fish. So do please adhere to the rules here on the pier, especially the ones around minimum sizes and takes for bass. So there you go, Eastbourne Pier in February. Maybe a little bit disappointing, but there are better fish to be had here. Have you fished here? Can you offer some advice? There's a couple of other videos you might want to watch of pier fishing and another session just down there on the beach where we caught a lot of plaice. So thanks very much for watching.